It's episode 247 of the Cassius Morris Show. Thanks for tuning in to this brand new edition of the podcast. We're back with new and improved audio and video. Hopefully you could tell we got the full 1080p HD all around. We're actually capable of doing 4K now, even for the live streams, but I'm not trying to push it too much. I was just sort of getting the system warmed up to this new HD setting, but it's looking good. I'm feeling good. I'm back from COVID. I bounced back. It was one hell of a 2 weeks. I was pretty fucked up. I gotta say just real quick about the COVID, the worst symptoms for me was the brain fog and the confusion and those sort of aspects. Not necessarily like the breathing issues. It was crazy, but I'll probably touch on that more in a future episode. Today, I'm super excited to announce that the music stream is going to be back on Friday, April 22nd. That's this coming Friday. And we're going to be giving away a cash prize of $150 to the most enjoyable artists of the night. And I'm doing this just for fun to kind of switch it up. You know, I understand that exposure is great, but at the same time, exposure doesn't pay the bills. And if I'm going to tell somebody to go and step up their mixing, step up their mastering, step up their gear, I might as well put my money where my mouth is and actually help them do something about that. So the music stream is back Friday, April 22nd. Send me links to your Spotify, your YouTube, your Apple Music, and even if you have a friend who makes songs, who plays acoustic guitar, who makes beats, definitely make sure to email all of your tracks to cshowmusic@gmail.com before the 22nd at 9 p.m. Eastern, and make sure to be tapped in on the YouTube channel as well. It's going to be live. I want everybody, even if you don't make music, to come in and leave those comments to let these artists know how they're doing. It's really essential that they get that info in real time. Today's guest on the show is the one and only Josh Ramsay. His brand new record, The Josh Ramsay Show, is available everywhere, and it was awesome to catch up with Josh. I think the last time we chatted was about 2.5, 3 years ago backstage at the Marianas Trench concert. Of course, now he's moved on to his debut solo project, which has a big lineup of features. And we talk about all those features and all the work that went into this new record. Now, before jumping into this week's interview, we have a couple of segments. I don't exactly have names for these segments yet. Now, for this new segment, which for now we'll call Did You Know?, I have an insane fact about the world of music. Did you know that Snoop Dogg is the most featured rapper in history with over 583 features to his name? Number 2 on this list is Lil Wayne with 430 features. That kind of makes sense. Bun B is at number 3 with 280 features. 2 Chainz has 274 features. How is that even possible? I didn't even think 2 Chainz had 200 songs. Number 5, Busta Rhymes with 254. Nate Dogg, 241 features. Jay-Z, 229 features. And number 10, T-Pain with 197. And now that he's learned how to use his message requests, that's probably going to go up to at least 250. It's insane to read these statistics and see how long these guys have been busting their ass. I mean, I actually saw an interview with Lil Wayne recently where he was interviewing Eminem. It wasn't that recent. It was a couple years ago now. But this clip surfaced where they're both saying they have to Google their own lyrics just to avoid actually saying the same thing again and recycling bars. They've written so many lyrics, so many bars, and obviously so many features that they have to even look up their own lyrics. And they said that in their history on their computer is mostly Lil Wayne lyrics or Eminem lyrics written up in the search bar, which is pretty insane. Now we're going to jump into a question on Ask Reddit. These questions never fail to crack me up, and this has been a popular segment. Today's question: what is your best insult without using curse words? I wish we were better strangers, Shakespeare. You seem like the sort of person who knows which color of crayon tastes best. There really are no gaps in your ignorance. You're a great conversation topic. Not when you're here, but when you leave. You had so much potential, stolen from his ex-girlfriend. You're not the dumbest person in the world, but you better hope they don't die. You're difficult to underestimate. That takes the cake. I love these Reddit threads so much. If you ever find a funny one on the internet that you want me to react to, or anything else that you want me to react to, whether it's a funny video, a meme, a TikTok, send it to me on social media. I'm at Cassius Morris and at Cassius Show. I'm active most days on social media, have a ton of content coming out. We try to post every single day on the YouTube channel as well. So make sure to hit me with that subscribe. And let's jump into today's podcast with Josh Ramsay. Hope you guys enjoy. Hey, Josh.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Phenomenal. Hey, thanks for taking the time. I know it's a busy time and an exciting time for you too.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
100%. It's the Cassius Morris Show, here to discuss the Josh Ramsay Show. So let's hear all about it, man. I mean, listen, the debut solo record, I can only imagine how much has really gone into this and sort of what kind of process it's been.
Yeah, it's a lot. I always wanted to do a record where I played all the instruments myself. And I can tell you, it's time consuming.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I got no one else to blame if this doesn't work. Cause I mean, I produced it, I engineered it, I wrote it. I mean, it's just me.
Is that a big responsibility to shoulder? I mean, cause it must be so different from a band effort.
That's a good question. I mean, I don't think it's that much to shoulder really, because it just reminded me, I mean, that's how I started. Like, I mean, I grew up in, my father owned, a very famous recording studio called Little Mountain Sound. And I would go to work with him all the time and watch bands like Aerosmith's recording and stuff. And eventually he put a studio in our house, and there was this beautiful vintage Neve console. So sort of all of my teen years, I spent learning how to engineer and produce. And basically I was writing songs, and I would learn how to play instruments as I needed them for the songs that I was writing, right. Which is where I slowly learned to play a bunch of stuff. And so actually, if anything, this felt kind of like going back to my childhood and just being it felt like being in my parents' house and just being by myself and just recording songs, you know?
No, that makes a lot of sense, because obviously you do a lot of work with different artists and, of course, you know, your own stuff, band stuff through the years. So I would imagine you probably drew from different eras of your career and your legacy, you know, work wise throughout this.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I try and draw from everything, really. I mean, it really just reminded me of being a kid again, and just really not, especially the part about like specifically trying to not make it a Marianas Trench record and trying to explore as many different genres as possible. That ended up being just like a really fun and exciting writing exercise to do. So I actually think in the end, in some ways, I think the album almost feels like a collection of short stories, because everything is so all over the place. You know, it's a lot of variety.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
I dropped my headphones. Hang on. Sorry.
It's all good. No, I can see that for sure, that the sort of thematic element of each track. I mean, what were the things that helped you accomplish that, sort of not making a Marianas Part 2? Because, I mean, when you have so many hits, it must make it almost more challenging in a way.
Not specifically. I mean, I'm very at home writing in all sorts of genres because I work with other artists all the time, and I, you know, write for other people a lot. And I've always really liked the challenge of that. When it's not for me, when it's like writing for a different artist, it's a totally different writing exercise, right? Because you're not like, what do I want to say? What represents me? You're trying to write what represents somebody else as an artist, and do what feels right for them. So in doing this, like, these songs definitely do represent me 100%, but I still felt very at home, sort of exploring other genres and stuff, and researching other stuff. That part felt like when I write songs for other people, it was just the other people were still all just different sides of me, I guess.
No, that makes sense for sure. I mean, you have to draw it from somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of having so many different sounds, where did you start? I mean, what was the jumping off point for this?
What was the first thing I started working on? The very first song I did was Lady Mine, that ended up being the song with Chad. That was the first song I worked on. And I was just excited to you know, like, so early on with Marianas Trench, like, our first record was pretty rock. And, I've been playing around in various genres my whole career, I guess, but our first album, we actually came into it, we had a lot of trouble getting it off the ground because the songs had rock guitar, big rock guitar, but then my style of writing melody was very pop. Right. So early on, rock stations said it sounds too pop, and pop stations said it sounds too rock.
So where do you fit in at the time?
Right. And we didn't. Right. And the first album was not successful. And so in going into the second album, I made a conscious choice to push us more in a pop direction, because Much Music was playing us and that was pop. So I made a choice to push us in that direction. And ever since then, I've missed getting to turn my guitar up because the first thing you do is you turn the guitar down. So when I got to work on Lady Mine, I was like, I'm fucking cranking up the guitar, dude.
100%. Well, it must feel good to sort of get back to that root, like you're saying. I mean,
yeah.
Chad Kroeger as well, someone who's been, instrumental in your career. I mean, back to the beginning, right? I mean, maybe tell us about that relationship.
Yeah. So I've known Chad for a really long time. We've been really good friends for years and years. I first met him when I first met Chad. I was not signed yet, but I was working with the other half of 604 Records, which is Jonathan Simkin, who's my manager to this day. And Jonathan and Chad were going into business together to start a record label. And they were taking the day to go around Vancouver and look at real estate to set up a potential office. And I came with them. Jonathan brought me along to introduce me to Chad. And we sort of just got along right away. And then 604 Records happened and they signed us. I think we were the second band that they signed. I think Theory of a Dead Man was before that. And I just sort of, Chad and I just sort of became friends. And then we got a lot closer when I don't remember what year this was now, but at some point he was working on a Nickelback record in Maui and he asked me to come and do some co-writes. Myself and another songwriter named David Hodges, who was in Evanescence. And so we all went to Hawaii together and we were working on a Nickelback record. And at that time, I think then we really became buddies, and like got drunk together and that kind of thing.
Hard not to out there.
Yeah. Right. It's really funny when you're working on a record in Hawaii, it's kind of like you're inside and you're like, do we got to work? I mean, look at that out there.
Yeah.
I want to go do that.
The balance is tough.
Yeah. But we had a great time doing that. And Chad actually, there was a Marianas Trench song that Chad was going to sing on. There was a song called Astoria and there was one tiny little line in the background. Do I survive you, Astoria? And he was going to sing that. And it just didn't end up working out with schedules. And then, so when it came to working on Lady Mine, I really hoped that he would say yes to doing that song with me. And I did write it picturing his voice and that sort of chainsaw thing that he can do. And I made sure to put it in a key where my voice would do the chainsaw thing as well. And you know what? Great guy that he is. He actually said yes to doing the song before even hearing it, which was amazing.
Wow. That's incredible. So he's always been there for you, so to speak, through your career.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, so what was it like in terms of collaborating with people for features? Was this something where you were meeting up? Was it through Zoom?
Yeah. So most of the people, all of the songs except for two I just wrote on my own, and I did the same thing I do if I'm commissioned by another artist to write a song for them. What I usually do is I don't just do like a little acoustic demo or something, because that's not how you sell a song. You don't want to leave any room for imagination. You want to just my process is I fully produce and record a fully finished product that sounds like it's ready for the radio, and then I send it to the artist to see if they want it or not. So I did the same thing with this, because I wanted to be if I'm sending someone a song to sing on, I want to send the song in its best light. So that's what I did. So every song on the record, there is a version of it that's me just singing the whole thing. And then I just all the singers on the album they're all great, and they don't need me to produce them. So I just sent people tracks, and then people would just send me back their vocals. And of course, that was when it got the most exciting, because hearing each different singer's interpretation and them making different choices than I would have made as a singer, hearing different interpretations of it really brought the songs a new life. And it was very exciting every time I would get vocals from someone and be like, oh my God, it's amazing.
No question. I mean, Chad Kroeger, Dallas Smith, Serena Ryder, Fifi Dobson. I mean, this is an incredible lineup of features. Which one really surprised you the most, or maybe was the most creative compared to what you sent as a reference track?
Most creative as opposed to what I said. Serena, for sure. I love Serena Ryder. I love her voice, and she's just an absolute wonderful human as well. She's a lovely woman. I sent her the song, And I sent her the song with a note saying, I would love it if you would like to sing a song with me. I've always wanted us to sing something together. Would you maybe be open to checking out this song? And she sent me back a note, a really nice note saying like, I've always wanted to sing with you too. Let's do it. Then when she sent me her vocals, I was so over the moon with how good they were on that song. And I think what was different about that is in the last chorus of that song, we're both improvising and we're both trading back and forth improvising. And Serena's style of improv is completely different to my style of improv. And hearing the two sort of fighting with, or not fighting, talking with each other and playing with each other, that was something that never would have happened had I just sung the song by myself, because her approach is completely different to mine. And it's great.
So I guess you can never predict exactly where it's going to go until you get working with said person.
Yeah, exactly. Which is the fun of it, right? Yeah,
exactly. I mean, which track for you in terms of playing was the most challenging, that really took you the most out of your element?
That's a great question. There was a few. Doing a country song, it wasn't difficult to write or put together, but vocally was different for me because I was consciously trying to not sound like the guy from Marianas Trench, because country singers don't sing like that. So I had to work a lot on getting my voice to sound still authentic and still feel like me, but feel like a country singer. And that was a challenge, even though the song itself isn't difficult to sing. Like when I first started doing it, first the song just sounded like me, and it was just like, feels like home doesn't look right, or whatever. And that just sounds like me and airy and like a pop singer. And then I started, trying to get it to sound like a country singer, and it was too much. I went too far. It was like, feel like home doesn't look right. And that sounds like an SNL skit. And so
dial it back a bit.
Then dial it back until I finally got to like this sort of like, feels like home doesn't look right, and sort of finally got to it. But it really took me a lot to like find it. The other one that was actually really difficult because I hadn't done it before was, there's one song that's like a straight up EDM song called Like There's Nobody Watching. And I had never tried to do that before. And that one took just getting the programming to sound right. Really took a lot of work. And a friend of mine named DJ George Toms, I sent him multiple versions of that song to get feedback from him. And he was very helpful in what the song finally arrived at.
That's so cool. Looking back at, yourself, obviously such a seasoned artist, what was one of the techniques or tips that really helped you find yourself as an artist, going way back to the beginning?
Oh man, that's a big question. I don't know how succinct of an answer I can give to that. I'll try. I think for me, there's a few different avenues to that. I think as a producer and a songwriter, I'm just talking about that. I think, I always want to set really ambitious goals for myself and set the bar very high. And I'm very hard on myself. I'm my own worst critic for sure. And I take things really personally when it's not going well, which is just, every artist is like that.
Right.
But I guess the point being is I really feel like in every song, I want every section of every song could possibly be someone's favorite part. So meaning it's got to be memorable. It's got to be singable. And if you ever feel like one section of a song is just good enough, then it's not good enough. If you're just treading water, then there's no point. So I always think that every section of the song should be able to get stuck in someone's head in some way, shape, or form. So that's what I'm always trying to do. And I always want the next album I do to be better than the last one. I feel that about every song. I want, and in the moment when I'm writing, that song is everything. And in the moment, that song is my favorite song I've ever written every time. That's always where I go. And then vocally, I always want to just be improving. And as a songwriter too, I always just want to be improving. There's no such thing as practice makes perfect. Practice just makes for improvement. And I just want to get better and better. And that's what I always strive to do. And one of the things I do for myself is I specifically always write a few songs on the album that are very difficult to sing from a technical standpoint. They're super high or very acrobatic or what have you. And in doing that, what happens is, yeah, you can do it on the day in the studio because you can take as many takes as you need to. You can spend days. You can spend days on it if you need to.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's tour it. Now that's where we really separate the men from the boys, so to speak, because now you have to do it 6 nights a week. And in doing that, that is where I improve the most, because I always write something on the album where I'm like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. This is the hardest singing I've ever done. Now I'm going to take it on the road and I'm going to do it every day. And in doing that, that forces you to learn how to do that properly, and do it over and over again. And then that's always a new bar that I can bring into the next album. Be like, okay, let's push it a little bit further this time, because now I'm confident that I can do that. So let's push it a little further.
I love
so it's
that
sort of it's sort of like a writing tool to constantly make myself still be improving vocally.
And that's why you're kicking ass every day. Thank you so much, Josh Ramsay, and congrats on everything. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, man. Thank you so much for having me. Very nice of you.
I want to thank Josh Ramsay for taking the time to join me on the podcast today. We went over the allotted time that we had. It was awesome to chat with him. Follow him on all social media, and make sure to follow me on all socials as well, at Cassius Morris and at Cassius Show. Also click that subscribe button on all platforms, and make sure to tell a friend about the podcast. Thanks so much for checking in with the show. Until next time, this is Cassius Morris saying, rock on.